Hello, my name is Makisha Williams. This is my ID. Oh, it's upside down. Okay, and for the YouTube presentation, we basically have to talk about some things in Chapter 7. Basically pick up a subject and we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So today I'm going to go ahead and talk about the tasks in hiring of probation/parole officers. In my opinion, with probation and parole officers, you have to have a very, what's the word? What should I say? Very specific hiring process with the probation and parole officers, because if you aren't specific with hiring your probation and parole officers, it can really turn for the worse in your institution. So with these, when I looked at them in the book, and it really did show me that there is a specific process in order to hire the probation and parole officers. So basically, it says probation and parole officers spend their working time writing reports. They visit and they interview their clients. They make referrals and they talk to persons in and out of the criminal justice system. The basic 10 tasks I'm going to go ahead and talk about and responsibilities of the Los Angeles probation officers are typical. So for the first one, monitoring and enforcing compliance. Just without even looking at that in the book, monitoring and enforcing compliance, when you're compliant, that means you are listening to the rules, you're following the rules of the system. So basically their role is to monitor and enforce that compliance. And it says monitoring probationers' adherence to the terms of probation, detecting violations and enforcing compliance. So basically they monitor their parolees. They make sure they're not doing anything wrong. They make sure they're following the guidelines of what their parole, their parole rules are. And they make sure that they're just, doing what they need to do in order to stay on parole and stay on probation and not go back into the system. Okay. For the second one, I'm going to go ahead and talk about, it says investigating. And here it says gathering and learning all relevant case and background information, obtaining and reviewing appropriate department records, probation files, district attorney's files, rap sheets, and juvenile hall logs. Basically, that means that they have to go ahead and they have to do their research. They have to investigate, they have to look and see what this probationee is capable of, what their crime was, why they went to jail. And they're doing that to make sure that they have all the information necessary they need on that person, and that they basically handle them in the correct way for them to be compliant with the system. Okay. Third is analyzing and making recommendations, synthesizing and evaluating all relevant information and reaching decisions and recommendations. Basically, that means to me, you're just evaluating all your recommendations, all your relevant information, so you can make the right decision. So either if it's evaluating their records, evaluating their personal personalities, just evaluating the person all to make sure that you make the right and correct decision in their case. Fourth one is report writing and documentation. Basically writing reports. They have to write reports on these people. They have to write everything that they see that's going wrong, that's going down with the person. They have to basically document the person and how they, see that person. They have to document it. They have to document. They have to make sure that person is compliant with everything they're documenting, and just making sure that everything that they see and observe, that they're writing that down. Okay, and then the fifth one is handling emergencies. We all know what that means. In the book, it says taking appropriate actions in emergency or crisis situations. For example, injuries, escapes, fires, physical fights, and attacks upon staff. So that means that they have to make sure they take the appropriate steps in order, just in case an emergency or a critical situation does happen. We all know that, sometimes the jail system, and sometimes when you're on probation and parole, things do happen. Sometimes that you tend to slip up. So there may be some kind of fighting, there may be some kind of misconduct, and they have to make sure that they take the right action in order to handle that emergency. Okay. The sixth one now is interacting and communicating with probationers, clearly conveying the terms of probation to probationers, including their rights, responsibilities, and the nature of probation violations. That's basically just talking to the probationers, letting them know what's going on with their probation, let them know the steps they need to take in order to do this probation the correct way, let them know their rights, let them know what they can do and what they cannot do, and just letting them basically give them a general rundown of what's going on in their probation cycle. Number 7, interacting and communicating with non-probationers. That means appropriately and effectively working with affected parties such as parents, guardians, victims, witnesses, employers, and teachers. That's self-explanatory. Meaning that they basically have to do the same thing they do with their probationers. They have to go ahead and talk to their parents if their parents were involved, if their parents even want to talk to them. They have to talk to the persons that were witnessing the act, or even people that were involved in the act. That were affected. They have to talk to them and let them know what's going on, and they have to give them basically the general rundown of that person's probation, let them know what's going to go on so they can feel safe and secure of everything that's going to be happening. Number 8, working with probation staff and other agencies. That says working effectively and professionally with coworkers and with external departments, agencies, and institutions. That's self-explanatory as well. Basically, they have to work effectively. They have to work cooperatively with these agencies, with these professionals, with these workers and co-workers, to make sure that that probationer is going to be taking the right steps in order to be successful. And then the last one is working with the justice system, filing accurately, complete, and timely legal reports, affidavits, warrant requests, petitions, memoranda, and so on with the courts. That means they have to be on their best when it comes to filing these reports in order to turn to these courts and to these other parole officers and to any necessary place they need to turn these things into. They have to make sure they file them correctly and that everything is in line so everything can be, basically perfect and can run smoothly. That make sure that they're accurate whenever they're filing out these reports, that they basically be detailed to the T. So everything that goes from there so on in that situation can be run smoothly, and there's no kind of confusion or anything like that. So basically, all in all, when it comes to, the things that these probation and parole officers have to do in order to make sure that their tasks and everything is done correctly, in my opinion, it's pretty accurate, and it's really a good thing, because you have to really be careful whenever you're doing something for an inmate. Even though I don't want to sound bad when I say that, but you have to be very careful, because if it's put in the wrong hands, that things can really get bad. So, that's a really interesting thing that I learned and that I'm going to go ahead and talk about. And I hope that you liked the video and you have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.